Hey guys, yep, we're back. So, what we were talking about earlier was what Malia said was just what was the actual quote that you said, like loving where you're at.
Yeah, you have to love you where you're at.
Okay, and I think what goes hand in hand with that is forgiveness, and forgiveness is mandatory. So this is the faith part of our vlog. Is for those people who have a hard time with faith, who have a hard time really believing that it can happen for me. Yeah, you hear, pray about it. You hear, let's talk about it. And you have support groups, you have Bible, study groups and stuff like that. But sometimes it's really hard to see when faith is going to come. But I feel like it really starts. I had a really good message this weekend at church, and it was about making forgiveness mandatory. Why is that important is because, and this, we're gonna kind of blend this with our kids, like the mom life part of our video, is I feel like, people make mistakes. It's honest mistakes, and sometimes we get so caught up in our own crap that we tend to forget to forgive. And I feel like it has a lot to do with our kids too. Like that's something that we can control, something that we have control over. Like, when we were kids, right? Like, you do as your mom says, like, you just, because she said so.
Yeah.
Right? And now that we're moms, I feel kind of like the same thing. It's like, well, now we have the say, but they're humans too, and they have feelings. And I feel like that is a big message for me this week. Was it's not just about forgiveness. Forgiveness is mandatory. And this is kind of just some notes that I took. In families, people are gonna make mistakes. We're honest with the people that we love the most. They take the full brunt of things, and there's lots of opportunities to hurt one another in families, right? But we also have the opportunity to forgive each other. And I think in life, when you think about forgiveness, the key that unlocks so many life's blessings in the family is to say, I'm sorry, I forgive you. And this is the one quote that just caught me this whole weekend, and I really been trying to apply that in my family, in my life. But forgiveness doesn't fix the past, it frees your future. Well, how deep is that?
That's really good. That's a good one. Because you know why? Offense blocks your blessings. So when a lot of times you don't forgive because you're offended.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you don't forgive, it's not really hurting the other person. It's hurting you because you have that offense in your heart, and then it leads to bitterness and resentment.
Right.
And that blocks your blessings. And not that you have to forgive just so you can get blessings, but it makes your life miserable if you think about it. I mean, it's just that bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
And the bitterness just eats away at you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that's when evil can come in.
Right.
Because you have all of that.
And that's when it breaks up friendships, it breaks up marriages, it breaks up relationships. And it was just really a misunderstanding, or just giving grace, and being able to just say, you know what, like, for example, okay, so my kids have chores every day, and my two older kids alternate who washes dishes. And because Kai has finals, well, they both have finals this week, but Kai had a baseball banquet he went to last night, and it was his turn. I could have been a real, bitch and just been like, nope, that's your day, you need to make sure and make it happen, but giving grace is those times when you just give a little bit of understanding and a little bit of forgiveness to say, you know what, son, when you come home today from school, you need to get it done. So it's just little things like that I feel like is important, to understand what forgiveness is. So here's just a little thing that our pastor was talking about today, or on Sunday, was how do you experience forgiveness, or how do you offer it? And number one, most importantly, is you got to remember that God forgave us. How much times we sin on the daily? That's me, on the daily. The F-bombs, the cheersing at 9:30 in the morning. Like, there's so many things that I need to ask for forgiveness. and repent. But that's what God does every second, every minute of the day. And you can't forget that because you have that grace, you need to offer that too. Right?
It's hard. Grace is hard though. So is forgiveness, and it's not something that it's not just okay. Yeah, I forgive you, but then the next argument you bring it up. 20 years later, you still bring it up. Like, that's not forgiveness. That's, you're only forgiving in words. Like, you actually have to forgive them.
Right.
And then grace. So that comes into play too. You say you forgive somebody, and then the next time they do something that's almost similar to what they did, then you throw it in their face. But that's not grace. That's it's definitely, you have to remember, we get fresh mercies every day.
That's awesome. I love that. Fresh mercies. Yeah, so it was really cool because what he was talking about, Pastor Judd was talking about, is like, a big one is like infidelity in marriage, right? You can be forgiven, but the trust is earned. Like, just because you forgive someone doesn't mean, he said, you can forgive someone, but you need to have boundaries. Forgiveness for some people is perceived as the need of revenge. Sorry, I think that the notes was wrong, but forgiveness, but what I kind of meant by that, or what he meant by that, is you don't look at it as, if I forgive you, then I accept what you did. It's not acceptance, it's moving on, it's for your own good. Because forgiveness is when you hold on to something, sorry, that means go get my son. When you hold on to something, it's really hurting yourself. It's not hurting that person, it's hurting you. Yeah. Right? So fastest way to forgive is to remember that God forgave you. And that was kind of what a really good, message that I felt really I needed to apply this week. So that is my faith goal this week.
That's like every week though. But let's totally be real, because that's what we're about, is being real. It's, like I said before, it's hard to forgive. It is especially hard to forgive when the person that you need to forgive, one, isn't sorry, or
right.
two, does not feel as if they did anything to warrant an apology. Like, that's really hard. And that's where you definitely have to forgive them for yourself.
Right.
Because you're not going to get that apology. You're not going to get that turnaround behavior if they don't see what they did was wrong. And so you have to be the bigger person. And it's hard. Like, it's freaking hard to be the bigger person.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just want to be just as shallow, just as petty as they are.
Well, that's the part of the revenge, right? It's almost like, well, tit for tat, spite for spite. You can spite me, I can spite you first,
Yeah.
And that is typical. It's not even like, that's just culture. That's life. That's society.
That's human nature.
Right.
It's human nature.
Right. But that's the cool part about faith and about, I feel, about being a Christian, is it's really brought me to a place where I can feel safe and peaceful and not have to justify it, not have to feel like, well, why do I always have to do the right thing and that person doesn't, and they always get away with it? It's not for us to feel like we have to justify it, because God is going to give us that grace and give us that blessing in a different way. So in the meantime, best thing is forgive for yourself, so that you don't have to go through the hurt, and it dwells, it really hurts, like in the middle of your chest. It's heavy, right?
Yeah.
So for you, forgive and it's not like it's gonna be, for me, sometimes it's 100 times, in a month, in a week, whatever, in a day sometimes, because it's hard. Like, you think about it and you're like, oh, that really, pisses me off, or that really, like, just, I don't understand why that person doesn't care about me as much as I care about them. But you're gonna have to just forgive every single time that thought comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grace. And that's really goes back to love them where they're at. Grace.
Yep.
But
Totally.
again, that's hard. I know I said it before. It's hard to love them where they're at when you don't even like them from where you're standing. It's hard. And that's when you have to make the choice. Is it, what's harder?
Well, and I think what's good is stuff like this. Like, this, you know, for me, I like to watch YouTube videos, you know, for motivation, for confidence, for grace, for forgiveness, you know, all those kind of stuff. And you have a friend, if you have somebody that you can lean on to, that gives you that support, that you can talk it out. I'm that type of person where I don't deal with it on my own very well. Like, I have to talk about it, get it off my chest, and then I squash it, move on, you know. And if you're that type of person, I think you're more that type of person that likes to just, like, you kind of deal with it on your own, and you kind of,
Yes,
yeah.
I internalize it.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, so if you thought randomness was my superpower, overthinking probably supersedes that. Because I can, like, I have this analogy where, and it's a medical analogy because I'm a nurse, but a paper cut leads to death. Like, for real, in my head, a paper cut can lead to death. In real life, probably not so much, but in my head, I mean, this little paper cut problem, I can turn it into death in like 5 seconds, just imploding, and that's it. And it's not even that big. And maybe if I stopped overthinking, but
it takes friends. I really feel like it takes a sisterhood. It takes friends. Like, when we talk, you know, when her best friend talks to her, it's like in seconds her mindset changes, her face changes, her look changes, and it's not, you know, anything that, like, godly words that are coming out of our mouth. It's just confirmation, you know. It's confirmation. It's
a different perspective.
Yes. And it's just, you know, somebody that cares about you, that is going to give you honest advice, or just, you know, like, sis, seriously, why are you thinking that? Like, why would you even go there? That's not, it's all in there. That's the noise. And in just a second, your mindset can change. So it really helps when you have, you know, that's why I keep watching us, because this is fun. This is what we do. Like, I feel like this helps me so much to have a partner by my side, you know,
Me too.
to bounce ideas off, or just to get stuff off your chest and just be like, duh. Like, so this is my new thing for the week, is what the heck, Shrek. That's from my friend Tay. I love that saying. I don't know why, it makes me laugh. What the heck, Shrek. And it's just like a quick, like, it makes me smile. So, you know, find that person, find that somebody that you can just bounce ideas or vent to and move forward. So that is our faith video. We'll be back for, what is the next thing we're gonna do?
Products.
Oh yes. Okay.
Products.
See ya.